Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome. Happy Monday to you all. Welcome. My name is Abiola, and you're welcome to the Read With Me series, episode 2. And we're looking at this is actually especially this version is specifically directed, targeted at the single parents, whether it's a single man or a single woman, a single parent, there can be a single father or a single mother, So, and the title is Help, I'm Raising My Children Alone. Help, I'm Raising My Children Alone. I started the series last week, so if you missed any episode, please go back and watch it. So, I'll just go right into it because I want to keep the broadcast 30 minutes. So, I hope you've been good. I hope life is a bit bearable for you, whatever your reality is. And I just want to say that, with all of this series, my goal is that, you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, and be encouraged in whatever season, whatever your situation is, whatever your circumstance is, whatever your relationship status is, whatever your reality is, even in raising children, or, even as probably you might be separated or divorced or whatever, you have to think about children and whatever, navigating your season. So please, you are seen, you are loved, and you are you are valued. You are valued. Yes, you're valued. So let's just go right into it. So the next subheading here is not the one, not the one, not the one. What does that mean? Disappointment and evil rage emerge when partners come to an impasse and realize that the one they married is not the one they wanted. This is the reality of a lot of us. Disappointment and even rage emerge when partners come to an impasse and realize that the one they married is not the one they wanted. Now, where do you go from there? Sadly, despair often evolves because the irretrievable time has slipped away when the now distant lovers were so sure that they had found the one they would love forever. Let's face it, marriage is hard work. It is not easy to find someone who fits where you are and where you are going. It's not easy to find someone who really, really fits where you are and where you are going. By the way, the author of this book is T.D. Jakes. So if you want to get this book on Amazon, please do. So I'll just read it. It says, it is not easy to find someone who fits where you are and where you are going. The art of growing together is rarer than the flaws of growing apart. Wow. The art of growing together is rarer than the flaws of growing apart. Marriage was meant to be a covenant, an oath to God sealed with the soiled sheets of a pure commitment. That is what it's supposed to be. You're welcome. Good morning. So, marriage was meant to be, good morning, thank you for joining in. Marriage was meant to be a covenant, an oath to God, sealed with the soiled sheets of a pure commitment. It is a promise between two that is meant to be enforced until death do us part. Let's just be getting it in as we are reading it, It says, it is the knitting together of two agendas into one corporate destiny. That is what marriage is supposed to be. Okay? It says, as well as I do, seldom can people fail to share their deepest fears and tears come together. Marriage is so intense that God allows us the rights of intercourse and procreation. From this sacred union, children are permitted and entrusted. So it's a really, really big deal. In this time and season where, marriage, a lot of things are just going on, in our day and age today. And we don't even understand the sacred, the holy matrimony of marriage, Good morning. All the single people are joining today. It's for, I don't know, maybe you want to learn. It's for single mothers, single fathers. Good morning, good morning. Please tag people. All the older people are the one I'm targeting here. But anyway, maybe you might learn something. So we're talking about, just read on. So it says that, marriage is so intense. It's so intense that God allows us the rights of intercourse and procreation. From this sacred union, children are permitted and entrusted. So God, in a way, is like, before children are being brought into this world, He wants that covenant of marriage between the two parties to be sacred, to be, in a committed relationship before we say we want to start having children. You see, because He really values what we bring up, the kind of godly seed, the kind of seed that we produce in our families. You see, holy matrimony is a clear picture for which Christ's love for the church is a gleaming reality. Okay, then the verse here is reading here, Deuteronomy 22:13-18. It says that if any man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gates. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hated her, and lo, he hath given occasions of speech against her, saying, I have found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. That's in the olden days. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him. Wow. Welcome, 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 welcome. First time for joining the peculiar. Thank you for joining in. So it says now, from that the Bible context that we're reading, Deuteronomy 22 verse 13-18. It says that in those days they'll be like, if a lady proclaimed to be like a virgin, and if the man now marries her and they sleep together, and she finds out that it's not you're welcome, and he found out that the girl is not a virgin, or something, or no, that she's a virgin actually, and then the man treats her badly or whatever, they're going to take the mother or the family of the bride or something, they will chastise that man, and they will call the man to order. So I'm just reading on. It says that the blood was a defense that attested to the fact that the marriage was legitimate. That's in the Bible days. Marriage was sealed by the breaking of the hymen, which means that virgin, when you lose a virginity, there'll be a blood, like breaking of the hymen. Okay, so that bloody sheet was proof positive that they had consummated the marriage, and that the bond was predicated upon the blood itself. What a bond! So it's a big deal. Marriage is a big deal. It's a big deal. It says that that we will teach our young women not to give their blood to someone who has no covenant with them. Ooh. Maybe the younger ones might learn. Anybody will learn here. It says, don't give your blood to someone who has no covenant with you. It is a one-time opportunity. And before you guys joined in, we're talking about not the one, the disappointment and rage that emerge when partners come to a realization that the person that they got married to is not the one that they wanted. Okay, so these are the background things, things that might occur and that might lead somebody to be raising children alone, which is what we're reading today. Help, I'm raising my kids alone. Okay, so this may sound antiquated, I don't know, to many people. Even Christians often struggle with their morality and standards. It is much easier to have a strong sense of moral responsibility in areas that are constantly being inspected by other people. The challenge is to maintain character when one is all alone. That is why it is important to train up the child in the way that he should go. In the formative years, when the branch is tender, it is most easily guided. When the branch when the branch is tender, it is most easily guided. Even those Christians who fail to learn these principles in their early years, those who suffer trauma and pain, can still benefit. If they can't get into the ring, they can stand along the sides and coach those who can. Their experiences will help the young people avoid pitfalls. So no matter what you are going through, no matter what you have gone through, your experiences are valid. Your journey is valid. Even though you might have your dreams or your reality might not have been the perfect picture of what you thought your life was going to be. But it's not a waste. You can still encourage people, even coming up with your story or with your journey or with the lessons that you have learned in life. Okay, so the challenge is to maintain character. What was I saying here? So even those Christians who fail to learn these principles in their early years, those who suffer trauma and pain, can still benefit. If they can't get into the ring, they can stand along the sides and coach those who can. So if at any point you have anything that resonates with you, or what I'm reading, or you have questions or whatever, contributions, please put it in the comment section. And also try to invite people, many more people that might benefit from this podcast. So I read on. It says their experiences will help the young people avoid pitfalls. Okay, they are particularly helpful when their words are seasoned with wisdom and practical applications of godly principles. Don't be afraid to admit mistakes. Young people like truth. It is so true. Don't be afraid to admit mistakes. That yes, and that is why even in this podcast, I'm not here to, I'm here to really showcase everybody's journey. Really, everybody is valid. Your story is valid. Your life is valid. Whatever it is, And I'm not here to be like, maybe like to portray myself as a picture perfect person or like having everything all together. No, to be authentic, because show forth your life. Oh, this is the journey I have walked, and this is what I've learned along the way. Is he's saying here that young people like the truth. They like you to be vulnerable and tell them, okay, this is what it is, so that we can actually learn, and make better choices in our lives. People need to know that marriage is not to be entered into for a tax advantage or a business venture. It is not to be entered into because of sexual need or status. We must get it right. It is a blood covenant between two soulmates who have made a commitment to be together. You do not have to be perfect, but it sure helps you if you are committed to the cause. In the scriptures, the young girl shed her blood on the wedding night. The young man shed his blood in circumcision. He gave his blood to the Lord. His wife gave her blood to him. Wow. And both of them were covered. Obviously, God did not design this to be a covenant that was revocable. It was not designed to be something to enter into and then leap out of at will. Anytime you go against the plan of God, there will be pain. Wow. Divorce shatters emotions and damages esteem, but it's our reality. Divorce was never meant to be. And the Bible says initially it was not permitted. But sadly, it's our reality. In Matthew 19 verse 3 to 8, I'll just read. It says, the Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto him, have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twine shall become one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twine, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. They say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put away? Because these questions are coming up even with the recent story Osinachi. We're talking about abuse in relationships, families, and all the kind of stuff. And people are kind of like, what's going on, even in the churches, because of this doctrine. God is divorce and all that kind of stuff. But people are miserable in relationships. So what's going on? So it says, what therefore God has joined together, let not man put asunder. They say unto him, why did Moses then command that, command to give a writing of divorce and to put her away? He said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning, it was not so. From the beginning, it was not so. The cleaving that occurs in marriage was meant to end in a oneness of which sexuality should only be an outward expression of an inward reality. I think a lot of us need to really learn about what marriage is. The both parties, the male and the female, the man and the woman, should really, really understand what relationship is about, even before entering into relationship, so that we don't, what we do not understand, we abuse. What we do not understand, we abuse. So in order for us to even not abuse, or entertain abuse in our families, in our relationships, we need to seek knowledge. And it's not even popular nowadays, whereby we sit down to actually read, sit down to learn, sit down. It's not glamorous anymore. Everybody wants to just be, gallivanting all over the place. But few people are actually taking the time to really sit down to learn how to relate with one another in love, how to treat one another in our families and relationships, how do I deal with my wounds, how do I deal with my trauma, how do I deal with my childhood, issues, so that I don't continue that pattern when I have a family. This kind of conversations, a lot of us are not having this kind of conversations, and these are things that are really very, very important for us in order for us to have healthy families in our societies. Okay, so I just read on, and it says that the cleaving that occurs in marriage was meant to end in a oneness of which sexuality should be an outward expression of an inward reality. But what an expression it is. From the warm words and tender moments of trembling hearts and the sharing of innermost needs is born a bonded oneness that is so intense that the Bible says the two have become one flesh. It's powerful. Not two people enjoying the pleasure of sin for a season, but one flesh. Throughout the Old Testament, the phrase "the man knew his wife" is used. This statement is a reference to marital sex. Many couples do not realize that there is a level of intimacy that should be restricted for covenanted couples. It is to our covenant partners and to them alone that we trust the privilege of being known. Wow. But in our day and society today, we're throwing caution to the wind. We're just doing things anyhow, and we now wonder why we're not getting the kind of joy and kind of pleasure in our relationships the way God planned it to be, but because we fail to follow his pattern. It says that many couples do not realize. Yes, I've read that. It says, why be so careful? Is it just the physical act of sex that God is guarding? That is only part of it. The whole issue is deeper than that. Understand that when we allow ourselves to be known in the intimate sense of the word, we can never withdraw that knowledge. Wow. Look at that. When we allow ourselves to be known in the intimate sense of the word, we can never withdraw that knowledge. Wow. We can never unknown what we know. We may not continue the relationship, but we cannot dissolve the memory. Wow. That former partner is forever walking around with privileged information about you that you cannot delete. It is indelible. It may never be discussed, but there is a gleam in the eye. There's a glow in the smile. There's a lifelong invasion of the secrets that cuts right to the hearts of who we are. What more can we give anyone than ourselves? The tragedy of divorce is that you have given your secrets away to someone who has inspected them and walked away. It is worse than death, because when a spouse dies, at least your secrets die too, and all is safe. What a violation to have been naked and unashamed with someone who is now with someone else. I just read on and see where this is going. It says, please hear me. Please hear me. I do not want to appear judgmental. I do not want to appear judgmental. I have experienced God's design to point out why divorce is so devastating to persons who do not easily disrobe. I am not merely speaking of the nudity of the flesh, but the nudity of hearts. I am not merely speaking of the biological release of energies, but the tremors of inner vulnerabilities. The pain comes when someone has had all that you have, then smocked and said by virtue of actions, you are not enough. Wow, this is painful. We're going into it. So, and this might be a bit uncomfortable for a lot of people, or this might be a bit sensitive for a lot of people while you're watching this, or it might even be awakening some things that you have just put on the side path. But we need to go in there so that we can actually dig it out, take it out and actually heal it, because this is the reality. Sometimes all of this painful experience, because all of this disappointment and all of these things, can create a lot of pain, and sometimes we might even be numbing the pain by just going through the motions, overworking or concentrating on children, or just maybe drinking alcohol, or just having different kind of vices to numb that pain. But we need to go in there. We need to go in there with the word. So it might be, I apologize, it might be a bit uncomfortable or sensitive to some of you that may be watching, but let's stick to it. It says there's a difference between being cut by a surgeon and being stabbed by an assailant. One will give you a clean incision that is able to be sewn back and heals easily. The other just savagely rips apart what was meant to be held together. Wow. Divorce is the ripping of a dream. In the last broadcast, we're talking about shattered dreams. That's in relationship, before separation and things happen, that you get to the point of you're raising the children alone, you're in that relationship or something, and the dream is that you're going to spend your life with this person, or whatever, and then things happen, and it might not even be divorced. Some of you might not even be divorced, might probably be separated, or it might even be teenage pregnancy, or some might even have children as a result of rape. So many other things might be, but just in this context. And some people might even end up, taking care of their children by themselves, probably because as a death of a spouse or something. But in different categories. But in the case of the one with the divorce, it says that divorce is the ripping of a dream. It is not an incision, but a gash. It says it is the splintering of the present, the violation of the past, and the desecration of a future. It is the shattering of a dream. Depending upon your perspective in the trilogy, your healing may take months or years. Anytime something shatters, the glass goes everywhere. Yes. With these broadcasts, you might not get a chance to even read this or sit down and be reading this, but as you play it, probably you're driving to work or you're doing whatever. Let it sink in. That your healing may take months or years. And remember, the issue with the relationship or whatever is like a shattering of a dream. So anytime, and it says that anytime something shatters, the glass goes everywhere. Now, the pain, the shattering of the dreams, those things will start spilling into different parts of every area of our lives. But we must be intentional about getting healed, so that we do not begin to spill wounds and pain into different areas of our lives. Okay? So if you have any comments or thoughts, please put it in the comment section, and I'd like to hear from you. So statistics say that there are more than 3.3 million people, 3.3 divorced single mothers, and more than 664,000 divorced single fathers in the country. That's in America. But my assignment, the author is saying, but my assignment is not merely to minister about divorce, but my assignment is to catch the splintered children. Today, there are more than 16.3 million children under the age of 18 living in a home with a mother only, and more than 2.2 million children under 18 living with a father alone. These children's hearts often get damaged in the ripping apart of their parents, who all too often get preoccupied with their own virtuous war against each other. Wow. Tragically, many children have become weapons used by broken-hearted people who have nothing left that the other person wants except a visit from a child. So true. This visit is often withheld because the companions are interested in causing as much pain to their now estranged lovers as they have felt themselves. The wounded shoot the wounded, using the child as the weapon. What these parents do not realize is that whenever a weapon is fired, the ammunition doesn't just destroy its targets. In the process, the ammunition is itself destroyed. Please, let's save the children. Please, let's save the children. Please, let's save the children. While you are in the process of sweeping up all the glass that plummets to the floor, while you are in the slow but inevitable recuperation of a bleeding heart, be careful that you do not draw the children into the process and abuse them in frustration while you recover. Ooh. Be careful that you do not draw the children into the process and abuse them in frustration while you recover. I must say that many times throughout my ministry to the hurting, I have wept with grown men and women whose hearts are still bleeding. It's painful. Whose hearts are still bleeding, impacted and distrustful because they overheard too many conversations. Conversations in which mom now tells about dad or vice versa. These monologues of bitter substance spilling out betrayal and disloyalty about a spouse create confusion in the children and deprive them of the ability to trust. The damage is real. After all, if a parent cannot be trusted, who can? What kind of family are we raising? What kind of relationships are we having? After all, if a parent, we should call it spade a spade. Honestly, if a parent cannot be trusted, who can? Do not teach them distrust. Yes, they may end up successful. They may even end up married. But they will always be lonely because they will lose their ability to confide in or trust in anyone. Wow. We must all learn the act of taking risk. There are no guarantees. No. Dreams do not always come true. But just because yours did not come true doesn't mean that your children's can't. I said that last week. One of the great things I love about our faith is the fact that our God raises the dead. Is a God of second chances and new beginnings. It is His word that gives us the grace to believe that all things are possible. All things are possible. So in the all the shattered, ness of the reality of our lives, and we're wondering how we're going to pick up the pieces. In as much, we just need to be really, really careful with the way we handle these situations. These are really, really deep stuff. I would like to really, really hear your thoughts on what resonated with you on today's broadcast. There is hope, and I'll be running off now because of our time. There is hope, and today we have been talking about, when you realize that the person that you were with, is not the one. Is not the one. So this is the reality, and this causes a lot of pain. So put it in your comment section what your thoughts are, and we're reading this book. Help! I'm raising my children alone. Okay, so I remain Abiola, your Ogunwale, and I'm gonna see you next Monday by God's grace at the same time, 12 noon. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. The Sign with Abiola on YouTube, The Sign with Abiola on Facebook, and The Sign with Abiola on Instagram. To know exactly what we're doing part-time, per season with the show. So I would like to really, really hear from you. Please send it to everybody you know, every single parent you know, single mother, single father that you know, because it might help them one way or another. We want to save the children, and we want to also be healed, in our lives, so that we can have peace and joy, irrespective of whatever happened in our lives. All right, so stay blessed, and I'll see you next week. Bye.